Hi, in today's video we're going to be talking about consultation in relation to psychosocial hazards. This is part 3 in our video series on psychosocial hazards. My name is Michael Terry, I'm from Momentum Safety and Ergonomics, and this is the 5-minute safety series. Okay, so in video 1 we looked at the extent of psychosocial hazards more broadly and saw that these aren't a significant issue across workplaces in Australia. We looked at some data from Safe Work Australia which outlined this problem quite clearly. In video 2 we took more of a look at the signs that your workplace might be experiencing issues in relation to psychosocial hazards. So now we're ready to address the problem, and we're going to do that through consultation. And in this video I'm going to be referring to some resources, specifically codes of practice and some checklists from Safe Work Australia. So we'll leave some of the links to those in the description. It's also really important that we document and record things like risk assessments and consultation in relation to psychosocial hazards. So I'm also going to be leaving some information on my favourite quality and safety software in the description as well, so feel free to check that out. So consultation can be quite hard. I think it's really important before you go into any sort of consultation situation that you really work out the extent of the problem in your workplace. And as I said in video 2, we did outline some of the things that you might be able to look for. Things like absenteeism, sick leave, accrued annual leave, staff turnover. You may have had work cover claims for this in the past, or you might even be lucky enough to have surveys that have been done in the past. All this gives you excellent data on what might be issues for your particular workplace. Even without this, you might be aware of issues that are in your industry. So you might be in an industry where there are known psychosocial hazards present. So that also gives you some information going into your consultation. But we must be aware that workers aren't always going to report these issues. So even if we haven't heard anything specifically written down, there may still be some issues there, and we have to be quite receptive to those less documented conversations that happen between workers. And that can even give us some information about the issues that may be raised in psychosocial hazards. So that helps us to get ready to go into consultation. And of course, our consultation, as I said in previous videos, must be reasonably practicable. So what does that really look like for you as a workplace? Well, it's going to depend on the size of your workplace, the nature of the work that you do, and the extent of the problem. So for example, you might be a small workplace where you don't have any known psychosocial issues, and interpersonal relationships are such that people can talk to each other, they feel comfortable to do so, and there's a good safety culture. In those situations, I think just incorporating some information about psychosocial hazards and giving people the known ways to talk about these issues, people who they can talk to it about, may be enough for that type of workplace to achieve consultation as far as reasonably practicable. Once your workplace gets a little larger, then it starts to become a little bit more complicated. You're going to have to introduce maybe a more extensive consultative approach where you're having specific toolbox talks about specific topics in relation to psychosocial hazards. You may need to publish information printed or email to your workers to give them some information about that as well. Or you might even need to involve health and safety committees and health and safety representatives. When things get a bit harder, or when things get a little bit more challenging, is when you have difficult interpersonal relationships and people don't necessarily feel comfortable to talk about these sorts of issues. In those situations, it may be reasonably practical to go to a next level where you're talking about things like focus groups, or maybe involving external or internal third parties. Your internal third party might be your health and safety rep or someone from human resources, or an external third party may be an external consultant. I can say from personal experience that workers are much more likely to talk to me as an external consultant than they are to their boss, for example, in certain situations. So consultation must be accessible as well. And it's important here that we make sure that we give our workers appropriate time to engage in the consultation means that we've put out there. So if it's emails, they have to have time to answer those emails in their normal work hours. If it's conversations or meetings or toolbox talks, we have to make sure that the workers have time and availability to go to those toolbox talks. It might mean that our consultation needs to be multi-site if that's the type of workplace that we have, or happen over multiple shifts. So it's got to be accessible to all the workers. And also we have to understand that workers may not feel comfortable to talk to certain people as well. So it may be reasonably practicable in certain situations to provide alternate people to talk to, such as people of a different age, race or gender, if that makes our workers feel a bit more comfortable. It really does depend on the nature of your problem and the nature of your workplace as to the type of consultation approach that you'll take. So hopefully that gives you some nice clear ideas on what type of consultative approach you'll take to address psychosocial hazards in your workplace. The good news is that when you engage in effective consultation, you find out the extent of the problem, but you also get some great ideas on risk control. And controls that have come from your workers are always going to be much more successful than those that haven't. And that's going to form the next part of our series, which is about controlling these psychosocial hazards in your workplace. And I look forward to seeing you then.